Making a video. Yes. The old way. Going first. Anyway, okay, just a couple of comments, and I can probably make a whole video out of just this one troll comment and such, so I will. Um, in defense of having an argument rather than whatever this crap is that people spew. Um, and then it's so easy, to just write a stupid comment and then oblige somebody to explain why it's stupid. And then, it can just takes a long time sometimes to explain why something's stupid. But you have to go through all the concepts and the reasons why and all that kind of crap. I mean, it's like Hotliday just made a video on physics and just said there's no forces. And yeah, it's easy to say something stupid, and then, you have to explain why. No, well, wait, let's go through what forces are. They move at the speed of light. They change based on how they interact with stuff. In terms of that speed gets retarded by the interactions. And you can go through all the list, and then you can explain, in a bigger context that to say there's no forces be idiotic in the sense that all you're really saying is you prefer some diagram where the thing is a dent in a field, that's obeying rules, or it's a thing that makes the field. I mean, but they're the same thing. I mean, whether you dent something or whether you have a something, what's the difference? Same difference. So it's just kind of bullshit. So, but it takes a while to explain all that. I mean, this whole brief explanation probably isn't good enough for some people. But anyway, so the Gavolt guy, who I don't, it's just generally speaking cynical and not very optimistic and all that stuff, which is good. But he says stuff, and I just, I don't know. All right, it is the same in nature as it is with nations. Well, obviously, nations are existing in, the same world as, you could say nature. The state of nature is war, exploitation, extinction. Well, it really isn't. Not in the same way as the predator-prey relationship, or the idea of even extinction in the sense of acclimation or consumption. Being consumed by a nation isn't the same thing as being consumed, as a species into extinction. So right there I'd say it's not exactly the same. And clearly nations, as do the humans in themselves, there is a progression in the sense of this is a higher order function. It's not a low order function. So, it's obeying similar rules, but it's not the same thing. I don't think I see much point in declaring it the same thing, because it doesn't by any rules have to be obedient to that, where the rules of nature are pretty obvious in the sense that only so much sunlight hits a spot on Earth, and if there's, it's like there's too many people in the lifeboat scenario. That's the world nature exists in, where we don't have too many people in the lifeboat. We just can't get along, okay? And we have the illusion of too many people. So it's not a real circumstance that forces nature rules to apply to something like the creation of nations, which is sort of an arbitrary thing in itself anyway. It just really is a definition of separation. Like when you're separated long enough, like species, they diverge. And if they're separated long enough, one's the predator and one's the prey. Even though 10,000 years ago they might have been the same organism. I mean, it usually takes more than 10,000 years, but I'm just using that for exaggeration's sake. It's just the separation that creates opportunity for a separate evolution. It's like I could make a clone of you, and let's say we lived for 500,000 years, and I separated you from your clone. The identity of those two things could be very different in the future in terms of attitudes, language, lots of stuff could change rather dramatically, where your clone would be maybe unrecognizable as you anymore, something like that. Which gets to a whole nother subject, which is, another Snake Plisskenus video where he talked about the many worlds kind of bullshit, or multiverses, and but just thinking about how much difference would happen, just how different those experiments would be fun to be able to do. Would be these experiment where you take you at this present moment, and I take 10 of you and allow them to live a little separated from each other, and see how different they end up in a year in terms of what kind of attitude they have, and what kind of health they have, and what kind of all that stuff. It'd be just very interesting to see how much of what happens to us has to do with these little events, as the video I made that the other assholes responding to was about. Which the point was is that we're a byproduct, and that although we may still accomplish, the accomplishment isn't really something we can gain legitimate ego gratification for, because it's really not built out of us. It's built out of a lot of circumstances, because there is no us. Us is just a byproduct. So anyway, so I guess I'll get to that comment. So it's just a sock account. Enough BS. And it gets 4 thumbs up from what other sock accounts, no doubt. But anyway, it's just so weaselly. I mean, I'm just so sick of these cowards. I mean, if you want to make aggressive comments and accusations against somebody, you really should have the guts to do it face to face, or sign your name to it, like the Declaration of Independence or something. I mean, you're just such a fucking coward, to play at this. The YouTube allows you to play these games where, I'm restrained in what I can say, but you assholes, it seems, aren't restrained at all. There's just no limit on what some jackass commenter can say. Anyway, love your bullshit about it doesn't matter in the big picture. Frankly, that really wasn't the subject of the video, beyond the fact of talking about your ego. I wasn't talking about penicillin. I didn't say penicillin doesn't matter in the big picture. So there was actually no argument about something not being valuable or useful beyond the idiotic notion that you are somehow special. When it comes to things you want to belittle, like personal accomplishment, well, again, the only part of accomplishment I wanted to belittle was the personal part, because it's an idiotic notion to think that your accomplishment really is you, that you aren't made by the circumstances that you endured, both positive and negative. And ironically, I would argue that many of the things that do make us accomplished are negative circumstances for many people. The negative is a powerful motivator. I guess suffering shouldn't matter either then, in the big picture. So why would suffering not matter? Again, I wasn't saying pleasure doesn't matter. I wasn't saying comfort doesn't matter. I wasn't making any argument about the quality of your existence not mattering. There's no argument like that whatsoever. So again, these assholes show up, they lie about what you're saying, just print lies about what was in the video, post lies, and they're just not accountable for any of it. It's just bullshit. They should be known for what they are. Liars. Compulsive liars. I mean, there's no doubt probably the cowboy under a sock account, because they're so petty there. They're obnoxiously rude, they lie about you, and then they expect some sort of respect. It's amazing, these psychotic fucks. But see, that's sort of the nature thing. Back to that argument about the funny thing is that the human race is smart enough to be me. Or, there's other people that are smart, they just got other things wrong, like the mystic or something. So the universe, so humans can be smart, but they can also be dumb fucks. And so that's the real liability. The problem is that the dumb fucks just cancel out the smart fucks. So you end up with shit. Anyway, as the default product. Okay. So anyway, suffering shouldn't matter either then in the big picture. I mean, it's just such a stupid argument to make, in the sense that I wasn't making an argument that comfort doesn't matter. Tiny little creatures on some tiny little planet existing for 0.00001% of the potentially infinite universe timescale. Well, clearly that's not the timescale of the universe. You have no idea what the universe's timescale is. Actually, the universe is sort of, by definition, they have a number. I don't know if it's accurate or means anything. But again, what would it matter how long something was, like say a car, the steel that's in a car? Well, yes, for most of the history of that carbon, it wasn't a car. That doesn't mean it wasn't a car. It doesn't mean those molecules at one time weren't the car. So clearly I don't see how consciousness, I mean, you're the one showing no respect for it. You're the one saying consciousness doesn't mean anything. Now, I'm certainly not saying that. I'm saying it means so much that we should get over ourselves to do the right thing and respect it. Respect the power of it. Alright, so existing for point, so he's just really just saying, he's laughing at everybody else's suffering. All cancer, he's laughing at the suffering, he's just mocking it. It doesn't mean anything, because he has a time scale that says it doesn't mean anything. And there's nothing about that time scale that says it doesn't mean anything. Now I can say there's been suffering on Earth for 300 million years at least. Organisms have been going ouch. Things have been going ouch in brains. Huge number of years, just a horribly long time. And yeah, you can say, well, in that horrible big huge bucket of suffering, I can make you meaningless. But that's you doing that. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying anybody you can pull out of that bucket of pain and reclimate, cleanse of their suffering, would be a huge win. I could take like Abigail Adams or somebody. Somebody had surgery with no anesthesia. Abraham Lincoln or something. I can pull anybody out of that bucket and take away their pain, and I would have done a good thing. You're saying it's not a good thing? You're saying it's not worth anything? Fuck you. You suck. Alright, anyway. So, again, this potentially infinite time scale, again, is clearly we are a growth. Something that has to be, takes time to make one in the universe. The universe doesn't just pop out complexity, it takes time for it to develop. And how long complexity can survive in the universe is an open question. But whether it will ever exist again is also an open question. I don't see any probability in terms of all of the unlikely events, the uncommon, the rare events that take place to create a living thing that has a brain. The first neuron, only one kind of neuron ever created by evolution. Doesn't happen all the time. Neurons just don't pop into all over the place. Neuron here, neuron there. No. Thinking type machine doesn't happen. Anyway, a speck on a speck within a sliver of time. Again, so you're the one, you're talking about personal accomplishment. You're offended that somebody would take any value off of personal accomplishment, and that you're doing that to consciousness itself, calling it nothing. If your philosophy was consistent, you'd say, screw it. Why would I do that? Again, just because there's 100 kids with cancer and I have a cure that'll save one of them, I should say, screw it. That in your opinion is what's called logic. That somehow is, I can add those numbers up. The negative gets removed and somehow I have a reason to say screw it. The bad goes away, a piece of it, I should say screw it. That's what you call logic. That's how big a fucking imbecile you are. Like you thought about this at all before you wrote it. No. You're not a thinking person. You're just so fucking petty. You're so full of resentment. You're so driven by your lack of personal accomplishment. That's why you won't sign anything you've done. Is because you're such a colossally weaselly failure. Probably making phone calls every day, soliciting money for the local PBA, right? Anyway, you'd say screw it, let it play out. Again, why would I say that? Why would I look at a burning building and see the victim, potential victims hanging out the window saying, "Save me, help me, I'm on fire"? Why would I say, fuck it, let it play out? Why would I do that? It's all irrelevant anyway, in the big picture. Again, that's your statement, not my statement. Why are you saying I said that? Oh, that's right, because you're a fucking liar. Oh, yeah, that's right. Against the vastness of space and time, the greatest high and the greatest low compress into nothing. Says you. So somehow he thinks that winning a gold medal is on one side, and then you can put a kid with leukemia on the other side. And somehow winning the gold medal makes the kid with leukemia nothing. It's all okay now. It's worth it. It's a typical, unthoughtful, stupid, moronic, idiotic kind of response. Doesn't make any sense at all. Now, you could hang Jesus on a cross for 2 weeks for the bargain of no more pain in childbirth. That'd be a hell of a good bargain. I think we were supposed to get a bargain like that, but it was just a big propaganda lie about the whole Christian thing. Jesus did something to erase sin when he didn't do any of that, obviously. Because, women are still being persecuted for Eve's sins. Eve was never forgiven. Some forgiving God. Anyway, compressed to nothing. Says so that this is all says you. It has nothing to do with anything I say or advocate. So you just make these preposterous lies about my position. This fake, phony premise that has nothing to do with anything I've talked about. So I should have the right to call you a pedophile. I should have the right to say you're a pedophile. I should call the FBI and have them come and get you, because you're obviously a pedophile. Because I can just make up shit, because it's the internet. Unaccountable place for a bunch of weaselly, trolly, petty, psychotic losers to be let loose. However, we all know you get a hard-on thinking about everything being destroyed. I think about an idea of a graceful exit, and it's a little bit exciting. Yeah, I'll concede. Thinking about things gracefully, entering or exiting, seems, that's it's aesthetically pleasing. It's hot. I like that. Graceful is hot. But again, destroyed is your rhetoric. I mean, stopped in its insanity. The idea that we wouldn't make more babies on garbage dumps seems to make, it's exciting to think about a world that doesn't do that. It doesn't birth babies on garbage dumps. Anyway, the world that you hate so much. Well, I've pointed out the parts of it I don't like, yes. And those parts are, like I said, yes, you're for child molestation and child murder. Yes, you think you're worth it. You think you're worth giving kids cancer. You think you're worth killing people with drunk drivers. You think you're worth all the shit that will be the price of this game you're playing. You know, little 12-year-old girls trapped in burning cars. All that shit's going to happen because you need to play this game. Because you're so fucking important. And you need to make a copy of, a half copy of your trolley failure self. Yeah, because you're so fucking cool. No, you're not. Not even close to a little bit cool. So anyway, I hate waste. And until you can play your game without wasting other people's pain, or the wasted pain of some sentient organism that'll be in some way or other be part of the exploitation you demand to feed you, yes, I hate that waste. I hate that unfairness. I hate that imposition of some kind of authority or right you think you have when you're not even man enough to defend it in a straight up manner. Your philosophy is shit. Well, that's something I could obviously say about you too. Really easy. And you're also a pedophile and a child murderer. And anything but objective. Well, again, you can't be obedient to a single fact. Every statement you made in this comment is in some way flawed, and in some ways dramatically flawed, like implying the exact opposite which was actually stated, which that I have appreciation for accomplishment. I just don't think much of the personal part of it. You couldn't make that distinction. So, fuck you, you liar, you phony, you coward. Just a disgracefully disgusting coward. If you're going to make these kind of accusations, you ought to just man up and make them with an accountable account. Okay, say it. And leave it up so I can keep pointing to what an asshole you are. Show your face, pussy. Alright. So, fuck you. Troll. Ugh. So anyway. So yeah, no, I don't think there was anything else. Unfortunately, the comments were a little bit weak. Yeah. Let's see. So here's another from John Doe. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. This is so fucking cliche. I mean, it just doesn't mean anything. There's no obligation. You get smart enough, you don't have to do that anymore. There's no need for blood anyway. You can create mechanisms where you have to, do the battle of ideas rather than the battle of who's got more guns. So the other thing would be this economy guy. I guess I might as well get rid of him. I'm in Bialoshkian. Another anonymous coward. No content. I mean, their accounts are just nothing, no subscribers, no anything. They're just sock accounts. Unfortunately, your knowledge of the economy is the level of an 8-year-old. I can say that about you too. Okay, so I'll say yours is on the level of a 4-year-old. Don't worry, it happens often to leftists ashish. Well, don't worry. I'd say worry. You're really, really stupid, okay? I mean, you're probably eating your own poo. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be, serving food at a restaurant or something, because you clearly don't know anything about basic biology and all that stuff. I mean, philosophers, you should be, at the very least, watch some Milton Friedman lectures. I've seen Milton Friedman is from my era, okay? As a kid, he was somebody back then. And again, he's against inheritance, by the way. Just thought I'd let you know. he's not a big fan. He doesn't think it does capitalism any good. So, there's lots of principles that if you take Milton Friedman to completion, okay, Milton Friedman's not nearly as stupid. But if you take half of what somebody like Milton Friedman says and only do half of it, well, yes, then it's draconian and idiotic. So unless you take it all the way, it means nothing. You have to do it right, or you don't do it at all. It's all that bad ingredient stuff. If you're going to let poison apples into the pie, no point in making the pie. So if you're going to have dopey capitalism, but you're going to have monopolies all the way down, then you're failed. It's a poison apple, you've ruined the pie. Legacy wealth is completely anti-invisible hand. It breaks the invisible hand, cuts it right off, destroys its ability to fix anything. And you're too stupid to know that, because you're a dumb fuck, a 4-year-old mentality. By the way, you suffer from some disease. Your arch enemy, Stefan Malyu, suffers. He's obviously not my arch enemy in any way whatsoever. He's a blowhard, period. You blow things out, way out of proportion, like what? Vague, empty statement. And claim knowledge of things you in fact know very little about. Well, you're not going to prove that in this comment anywhere, indicate it with anything, or do anything. You just say this shit. It doesn't mean a damn thing. You're just throwing mud. That's it. Unaccountable, weak. Like I say, if you put vague nonsense like that in a video, it'll get what it should get, which is ridiculed. Maybe if you studied some more, well, same to you, you would not be consistently coming up with deeply immoral Marxist nonsense. Well, again, I don't preach Marxist nonsense beyond the fact that Marx recognized that capitalism will always eat its own ass, in the sense that it'll keep looking for an increase, like in an increase in interest rates or something. And so it'll always drive itself to the sewer and then die. The markets will fail. And this market will eventually fail. And it'll fail catastrophically when it fails, just because all the money is made out of promises that can't be kept. Fake money. Borrowed on long future residents of the planet. It's insanely stupid. Alright, so I left the comment, fuck you, and he says, reply from the man himself, I'm honored. Well, again, that goes with your 4-year-old mentality, I guess. Not even a simple fuck you, but a fuck you. Well, the only reason why I put it in caps is because the caps lock key was down on the keyboard. So sorry, have to take away your special there. Oh my, trolling is so much fun. Maybe I find some time to do some more for you. Yeah, well, you'll have to do it with a different sock account, because this one's done here. So anyway, fuck you. Appropriately fall into some hard disaster of some kind and gain a little appreciation. You piece of shit. You idiot. Yeah. Okay, so here's the other one. Let's be clear. I heard Gary in another video saying anarchism was stupid, yet Orwell thought the system of anarchism in Catalonia during the Spanish Civil War was the most perfect society he'd ever seen. That's a perverse and disgusting exaggeration. And let's understand what that anarchy during the Civil War, let's understand what that anarchy was. The anarchy was, they had rules. And the rules were, if you looked rich, you couldn't even get on a train. So that was called anarchy. Anarchy was, we have a bunch of rules. Okay? They got rid of all the surnames, all the, like, you couldn't be a lord anymore, or whatever the Spanish equivalent to that is. So anything that gave you title, they took away. That's anarchy. Anarchy is all these rules. So again, you people can't even figure out what words mean. Chaos, you don't understand the word chaos, and you don't understand the word anarchy. Anarchy doesn't mean a bunch of rules. Anarchy doesn't mean rulers. Okay, anti-rulers. Anarchy means anti-rules. So you just, you're too stupid to have a conversation because you don't even know what the word anarchy means. Clearly, Orwell was a socialist. He didn't like the communists because the communists were hypocrites. Okay? Simple enough, right? I mean, those were the factions in the Civil War. I mean, the left lost. The left was ruined because, now, like are the current left now, um, the factions in it had incompatible principles. And it wasn't there were no anarchists that were anarchists. The anarchists were called the labor movement, and they wanted ownership of the industry. And I'll argue that go ahead and do that, and I'll show you that in 10 years they're worse than owners. Okay, because anybody who owns is going to become an asshole. It's in the act of owning that you become an asshole. And so if you give labor ownership of industry, they'll fuck the customers. Because they'll know that if we make this we take this part and make it out of plastic instead of steel, we can save X number of dollars. That means I get 2 more weeks vacation. So all the asshole employees vote for that. Yeah, fuck the customers. Yeah, charge another $10 because, we're worth it. So as soon as you make laborers, owners, you turn them into assholes. They're just as big an asshole as the asshole owners. There's nothing fundamentally different between the rich legacy welfare and the worker. They're the same asshole. As you can see in the politics and what they vote for. The dumbass workers are dumb enough to keep voting for the billionaires. Because they're assholes. They're just as dumb as Donald Trump. God, you're so stupid, you people. Anyway. Alright, LOL, you truly don't know shit about traditional anarchism. No, I know shit about vocabulary, and I know at least enough shit about it to know the word anarchy doesn't mean rule makers. People with a whole bunch of rules. Yeah, no, that's not what anarchy is, douche. I'd say back off this one and stop calling people stupid. No, I'm sorry, you are colossally stupid. Alright, that you don't know that anarchy doesn't mean no rulers. That's not what anarchy means by any traditional definition, idiot. You're the dumb one on this subject. Well, I'm sorry, you're the idiot who can't even figure out to go look in a dictionary and see the history of a word. And anarchy has nothing to do with rejecting rulers, but loving rules. That's not what the word means, shithead. Every comment you made on the system of anarchism is fucking wrong. Well, you didn't prove that, you didn't demonstrate, you didn't quote a single one of those statements. You're an idiot. Okay, traditional anarchism is actually libertarian socialism. Says you. Absolutely no evidence of that. I'm sorry, that's just absolute crap. You could say that France was anarchy. I mean, you could say anything is anarchy by that idiotic notion. And I think this is a much better way to run the market. Which way? Which way? This false notion that it makes some fucking goddamn difference whether you have a rule maker or whether you have rule makers? Yeah, sorry. No, it really doesn't. Whether the democracy forces us to have the 10 Commandments on, the courthouse wall, or whether it's a dictator. What's the difference? Dumb is dumb, fuckhead. It is run on direct action democracy. And again, where was that ever in place, ever in the history of mankind? And whatever direct action democracy would even be is kind of an idiotic notion. Mob rule. You think that's anarchy? Mob rule? And labor owning and controlling the means of production. So controlling something is the same as anarchy. Labor controlling it is the same as anarchy. So if I want to go anarchy against the laborers, oh, that wouldn't be anarchy, that would be something else. I mean, it's just so stupid. There is no state. Well, whether there's a state or not, obviously there would have to be for labor to maintain its control. You have to have a state. If you want to maintain control, you have to have a state. Newsflash. Anarcho-capitalism makes no sense. Well, anarcho anything doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to put anarcho in front of anything ever. It's impossible for that word to be in front of anything reasonable. Anarchists despise capitalism. Says you, again, some kind of bizarre statement where obviously the libertarians are more anarchist than you loopers, and they're very pro-capitalism and pro-owner. So it just doesn't have any connection to the actual world that exists or any logical way to get to an explanation of how things actually are, the hierarchies that exist or anything else. I mean, libertarians are clearly more anarchist. They don't just dislike rulers, they dislike rules. It has actually been very successful. Again, as in Catalonia. Okay, in the Civil War. So he's saying that a state that existed in a civil war. So let's understand, it's it's in the middle of a civil war, and he's saying everything was so cool back then. No, not even close. Anyway, I mean, if I took a survey of the average citizen, I'm sure they weren't too pleased with the way things were going. Also, the cooperative business model is anarchist, whatever that again means. And again, you'll have to show me where it doesn't deteriorate. If you make workers owners, you'll just turn them into assholes. It's guaranteed. So it does indeed work, says you. A much better way to run businesses. No, an even better way to run businesses is to recognize that the business should be owned by no one. It's a business. It doesn't need an owner. All it needs is people who do their job. Okay, the business is run by people who have to earn their position, and you have some guy at the top who basically makes the idea that, okay, I need these many workers, and I need people to manage the workers, but this is how we're going to make the product, and yeah, blah blah blah. That's it. You don't need an owner. You don't need anybody making profit off the business. You just need people who do their job for a salary, idiot. Alright, there's not communism, because communism has the and the proletariat and all that shit. Yeah, no, with communism traditionally, okay, if you want to say in the ways that it has been manifested in the past, yes, it's always been corrupt because it's a party thing, okay? And that's, again, another corruption. It's not about the principles. It's about the people who have power and them being hypocrites. So, yeah, hypocrisy ruins something. Communism probably, in the sense of controlling things is a good idea. That's how you make civilization, is that you make rules and you have controls, and that way things get done rationally, without everybody's arms getting cut off. But that only works if the principles are stronger than the people. So you are incorrect. I'm not incorrect about anything, you jackass. Fuck you. Back it up with something more than this crap posted on my video. Anarchism is actually incredibly complex, based on horizontal democracy, councils, etc. So anarchy is incredibly complex. Anarchism, this is his exact statement. Anarchism is actually incredibly complex. How does that make sense? It's supposed to be exactly the opposite of that. It's supposed to be so uncomplex that it almost doesn't exist. That's what anarchy is, idiot. Alright. That does everything to rid of hierarchies. That does everything to rid of hierarchies. So it can't even bother. You know, it's going to type crap, and he's not even going to type coherent crap. I'm just saying, obviously it doesn't work, but go ahead and pretend. The council is just there to push through. Yeah, the democratic results. Well, theoretically, that's what our government is there for, too, idiot. So that argument that you have a fail-safe system is idiotic. And it's idiotic to sit there and call something anarchy or anarchianism when it has absolutely nothing to do with that in principle. This idiotic distinction that you make between rules and rulers is stupid. So, fuck you, you're rude, and you're stupid. Alright, there. Now that's enough of a video. Usury. That's a word you should learn. Because everything's just kind of based on that notion of gaining too much profit, too much rent, okay, for your surplus. So, exploiting the environment to gain too much profit, that is, to make just owning surplus profitable, that's what makes everything turn to shit. When you get paid for not doing any work, that's when everything turns to shit. Producing no value, just owning. Nasty. So, fuck you, stupid cunt. And the rest of you, stupid cunts. Or fuck you-ables. One or the other.